Hi everyone. I know it's been ages since I made a video, but my mum died in August last year, so 2022, and since then I've struggled to focus much on anything really, and hearing myself say what I've just said is very hard because it makes it real, and I don't want it to be real. I want to keep pretending that it's not real. Anyway, I'm sure anyone who has lost their mum will know how painful it is and how much your life changes after. I'm very thankful for the support of those who have stuck around as I fight my way out of this dark time, because some people have just disappeared completely. Some of you may know that I have 3 Shih Tzu puppies. And oh gosh, they have kept me sane, really, through all this. More than anything. Although, also, they drive me nuts at times. But I love them and they love me, and they have been such good company and they've kept me busy, really busy. I have been posting some videos to my Shih Tzu Zone channel. So if you want to see them, and any new videos I add there, you can subscribe to that channel. Also, if you are into virtual reality or interested in it, I have a new channel that I am posting videos to that I film while in VR. VR has also been a big escape for me through all this. So if you're interested in that, you can have a look at that channel as well. Subscribe if you want to, because I'm going to post some strange stuff that I find there and all kinds really. I have been creating so much art lately, it's really taking my mind off dark thoughts, and it's something that makes me so happy, so I keep on doing that to take my mind off things. I did a commission for somebody recently and they asked, what site should I tell people to go to for your art? And I didn't really have one that was dedicated to just my art, so I recently just made one. And that's purplepeacock.info. So that's just my art and nothing else. So it'll have like portfolio of all my, well, most of my art like that, and links to the places where it can be bought, like Redbubble and Society 6 and Printer Studio where my tarot cards are. So yes, I have actually made some of my very own tarot cards with my art on. And they have come out so beautiful, even if I do say so myself. And now, every time I do a reading, it makes it so much more enjoyable and magical. It's such a big achievement, I feel, to have created all those cards. It took me ages to do all those. So I'm very proud of those. And if you would like your very own magical set, please visit this link to get them direct from me. Or if you want to get them direct from the printers, this link, as I'm not sure which one will be cheaper as it depends on where you live. So if you check the prices of both, then you'll see which one's cheaper for you. They are more expensive than mass-produced cards because they are print on demand, so they're only printed when you order them. I was actually asked to talk about what tarot cards really are and what they can be used for. Anyone who just believes what they see on the TV will likely think that tarot cards are about predicting the future. Well, that isn't really true. They are actually a map of your inner world, your psyche, and your spiritual path. And when you do a reading with them, you are tapping into your higher self, your subconscious mind, and finding out answers that you might not be fully conscious of. They give you a guide to where you are on your spiritual path and can give you clues on what to do next to get further along the path. When I do a reading for someone else, I'm asking my own higher self to connect to theirs and get the answers from them. But when I tell the person I'm reading for the answers that I get back, they often know exactly what I'm talking about because the thought had crossed their mind. They just didn't believe it or listen to it. Our own higher self is always trying to find ways to communicate with us. The tarot cards are just one way to do that. And as far as predicting the future goes, It might tell us that if we continue on the current path, what the outcome could be and what could happen, and then it just gives us an informed choice about how to change it. Tarot is a useful tool in the right hands, and when used by charlatans, it can be very dangerous. Most who say they are reading the cards for you are not even attempting to connect to your higher self, because they can't even connect to their own, and they are not even aware that that is what they need to do to read the cards correctly. I would suggest being wary of anyone saying that they are channeling ascended masters, angels, or aliens. Actually, don't be wary. Run a mile. It is always better to read the cards for yourself anyway. More news. The secret social media site that was available to those who signed up to view the secret video has now gone. I was so upset about that, but there was nothing I could do about it. This happened before with the Blue Blood Kin site, and each time it is a horrible feeling. But we can use a forum I set up years ago for members of our order, so if you pay to view the video, you'll be added there instead. Now let's get on with the video, and as I'm talking about the topics for today, I'll just put some of my art up so that you can see what I've been creating. So let's get on with it now. First question. I'm confused because on one hand you claim that the problem started with the birth of Cro-Magnons, but on the other hand you said it started with the birth of men. The very first humans that evolved from aquatic apes were all female. These are the serpent bloodline, or modern term Neanderthal. This is one of the many reasons why the bloodline is symbolized by mermaids, and indeed Neanderthal women and women in general even now are better in the water than men, in that they carry extra protected fat to keep them warm in cold water, and so can stay in the water longer than men. The first male Neanderthals appeared during a mutation that occurred on one of the X chromosomes, which today we call the Y chromosome, that only males carry. For a long time we lived in harmony. The men were stronger and could hunt better and build better, and it meant growing tribes had protection from predators. As I have mentioned before, this was meant to happen at that time because the new eon was dawning, and as the new eon got closer, some of the men started to rebel against the way things had always been. They felt it was unfair, that they seemed to be doing all the hard work, and yet females were the tribe leaders. This is when the aggression of these men led to the first rape of the women, because before that there had been no need for sex. But the instincts in men took over. They needed illumination from the women, but taking it by force would mean it would never happen, of course, and the result of these rapes meant that the males were starting to pass their DNA on through impregnating the women, because at that time hardly any men were being born, because the women were only creating female babies through parthenogenesis, and just the odd male every now and then would appear. Some of the rebellious males, when they saw land apes, decided that if they mixed their genes with these creatures, that they might be strong but dumb slaves to do all the jobs that they didn't like to do. And so they did this and created the simples, modern humans. And the eagle bloodline was the result of the males breeding with the females from these new humans. And this new line worked on destroying all the evidence of parthenogenesis and women coming first completely from history. And then we were in the patriarchal eon. Next question. Why is the religion of the goddess considered better if she is about equality? Weren't there god and goddess cults at the same time in Andean prehistory? Why must they be at odds? Is it simply religion itself that creates the division? When you think about what I just said about the gradual progression into the eon of patriarchy, you can see why there was a mix of ideas in the past until goddess worship was removed completely. Goddess worship isn't really about the worship of some mystical goddess sat in the clouds. It isn't a religion. It's about watching the cycles of nature so you can learn how best to prepare for each season and the veneration of our ancestors. Whereas God worship, although its origins lie in the worship of the sun and also nature, soon divulged into the worship of an imaginary god sat in the clouds, and was then used to control people, profit from people, to scare people, and to suppress women and keep them uneducated and dumb, and to be merely vessels to carry sons for the men to pass their line down in. All religion is bad because it is about these things and nothing else. There can never be peace on earth so long as people are brainwashed to believe these lies. Now a question about blood type personalities. I was asked about the difference between O positive and O negative personalities, and why are they so different? Well, if any of you have my blood type personality book, you will know there is a lot of difference in the actual characteristics. And some of you will know how disgusted I was when an American magazine interviewed me about blood type personalities, and then went on to combine O positive and O negative, A positive and A negative, etc., so that there were only 4 types. The whole point of my book was about showing the major differences depending on Rhesus status, and I will explain why. A positive and A negative have a similarity between them. They both have an A protein in their blood. This means that there are some similarities, and the same goes for B positive and B negative and AB positive and AB negative. But O is different. O is the lack of any protein at all, and with O negs they also lack the Rhesus factor. So the only similarities between O positive and O negative is the lack of a protein. Their personalities are completely different because of this. To find out the full characteristics of them both, and the other 6 types, please read my book. So I have been asked to talk more about the Great Rite and the Full Moon Rite. The Full Moon Rite is what was passed down by the serpent bloodline families. It was kept secret and hidden to ensure its survival. It is the rite which was used in ancient times that started the parthenogenic process, that was used a long time before the first male was born. Back then it only ever created female babies. The rite involved balancing the woman's chakras, or endocrine glands, coming to climax and emitting the salt water from the Seknik gland, which moves towards the egg, which is ready to be fertilized. And the climax is so intense that it causes electrical surge through the body, which triggers the process. In ancient times, it was much easier for women to keep their bodies fully in tune with nature and the lunar cycles because there was less light pollution and less pollution in general, all which affect our hormones and also our cycles. So when a woman is fully in tune with nature, she will be the most fertile during the full moon and menstruate during the dark moon. So where the full moon rite was done to create new life, the great rite, which is about illuminating males, is always carried out in the dark moon phase. The blood moon is a necessary part of the process, and this time the electric surge and hormones from her endocrine glands are passed to the male during the process, leading to his illumination as the surge of energy shoots up his spine like a serpent, leading all the way to his pineal gland where it becomes illuminated. I have been asked about what's going on with all this thing over gender and trans, as well as cancel and woke culture. As we get closer to the end of this eon, which is the eon of patriarchy, and move closer to the eon of androgyny, all kinds of things are happening in the human psyche. And also, the eagle bloodline who has ruled over the earth during the patriarchal eon are starting to panic because they know their power is slowly slipping away. But because they know the new eon is about androgyny, what they are trying to do is remove everything that it is to be a woman, and instead only have men, which has been their plan all along, as I have talked about in my book and in various other videos. I've also explained that women are already androgynous, and that men are a mutated version of a woman. And of course, this has always deeply upset eagles, who try to make everything about male energy being better than feminine. Yet all males were females in the womb. That's why they have nipples. It wasn't until their Y chromosome kicked in that they turned into males. And women are androgynous. So this war on women does not help normal men or trans women in reality. It only helps the eagles by allowing them to suppress women and take away all the rights they have been gaining over the years gradually. Because once they have what they want, there will no longer be a need for biological women at all. They already have artificial wombs, so they have no need for women at all now. And this brainwashing that tells everyone that trans women are real is playing right into their hands. How someone chooses to dress can never change their gender, and yet we are now being told that if a man decides he is a woman and puts a dress on, he is a woman, and is let into women's prisons, women's changing rooms, women's toilets and bathrooms, compete against women in sport. And if anyone makes the mistake of saying this man in a dress is a man, they are cancelled, even arrested. This is considered a hate crime. In the future, when our bones are dug up by archaeologists and they find male bones and they say it is a man, are they also committing a hate crime? Because there are differences in skeletons of men and women. We are not the same. That is a lie. We're just totally different. My view is the logical one. People can choose to dress however they want to. But you can never change the sex you were born with. That is something we don't get to choose. And whereas if somebody has had the operation and transitioned, I'd be more than willing to call them a woman. But a man who just puts on a dress and says he is a woman will never be a woman. However, things like this are all happening because there's lots of reasons, but the new eon is about androgyny. Males are getting especially confused, some women too. A lot of people are thinking they are the other sex and thinking that their role in society isn't how it should be. So the whole thing is a joke, really. And they also contradict themselves. If we are all the same, and gender roles are imagined, then why do they need society's permission to dress a certain way? Whatever you want and act however you like, just don't expect anyone else to share your delusion when you are dressing up in a cartoon fetishized version of what you think a woman is. If you are not passable as a woman and someone calls you a man, don't get upset. There is no shame in being a man. Which brings me to, women should not hate all men because some of them are sexist. And men should not hate all women just because they can't find one that wants to have sex with them. Or for whatever reason. Each man is his own person and has his own thoughts and personality. And the same is true of women. Not all men are the same and not all women are. It is time we stopped having such limiting beliefs. Yes, society has programmed women to act a certain way to a certain degree, and the same with men. But we still, at the end of the day, have our own minds. and stereotypes are quite damaging. So if we all just try to make an effort to treat every person we meet with respect until they do something to show us they don't deserve it. Have manners, be cordial and polite to everyone, and make the world a better place. And we should try to quit having anger at people just because they don't believe the same things as you do. Thinking things should not be a crime. We don't all have to believe the same things to get along. In fact, imagine a world where everybody thought exactly the same things. There'd be no inspiration, no creativity, no free thought, because everything would be the same and grey and dull. No, it's better when we all have minds of our own. I have been asked about the Solfeggio frequencies. Well, they didn't used to be called that. That is a relatively modern name for the 7 tones associated with the 7 chakras, which when vibrated through the body can heal and open each chakra. These tones are used, along with other things, in the Serpentia healing techniques, which are church practices, and our families have practiced for generations. Here is a clip of me vibrating the 7 tones. And during ceremonies, we vibrate the Hebrew words rather than saying them, so the vibrations are felt throughout our entire body. Here is a clip of an example of that. Ani Yod He Vav He Adonai Ribbon Shel Olam. Amen. There are also more tones above the crown. It's something that you learn later on. I'm sure I've covered this before, but I keep getting asked about life on other planets. Yes, of course there will be, but not in our solar system, and we cannot leave our solar system. And so those living in other solar systems can't leave theirs. So we will never encounter aliens in our lifetimes here on Earth. I can guarantee you that, and I know that is disappointing to many, especially those who are schizophrenic and believe that they have encountered aliens. I'm not saying that to be nasty. It is a very real and sad disease, and it would be wonderful if someone could discover a cure, because it ruins so many people's lives. I've also been asked to say a little more about the Cataclysm and the Great Flood and the event which caused it. Well, at the end of every great year, time resets, and at the end of each eon there is a cataclysm that, although changes things, doesn't wipe out technology and advancements. Unlike the great year resets, which wipe out all technology and advancements, placing us back into the Stone Age. As I wrote in my book, the bloodline families have always known about the time cycles and so know what to do to prepare for them, and so have kept records safe. They live for years at a time underground, only coming back out when safe to do so, and have watched each time as the world replenishes and rebuilds itself, back to the point of destruction once more. Nature is always the cause of the resets and the cataclysm. And in this, we must remember we ourselves are part of nature and have caused them. I cover the time cycles of the great year and eons in my book, so I don't want to go on about it too much here because I don't like repeating myself over and over. Someone has asked about fasting and how it relates to spirituality, and that they've heard about people recommending fasting when seasons change as long as 5 days. Is it necessary to fast during certain times of the year or holidays, or before meditations or rituals? I intermittently fast every day, and it has great benefits if you can stick to it. Eating just one meal or two close together and fasting the rest of the day and night is ideal, but also longer fasting of up to a week to clear out your system is very beneficial. Some ceremonies require the aspirant to fast beforehand and then feast once it is over. This is especially so for initiation ceremonies. The more food in our stomach, the more earthed we are, and some ceremonies require us to leave the earthly realm. And this is why fasting can be essential for good results. Obviously, take care if you do fasting, especially long ones, and maybe speak to a doctor first if you're going to do a long one. And another question, does Planet 9 exist? No, it doesn't. The objects in an unusual trajectory, which is what is making astronomers think there could be a ninth planet, are actually being pulled by a tiny black hole. I'm not sure if astronomers will ever be able to discover this. I don't think they have the technology to see it. So it is left to those of us who can astral project. Okay, I think that's it for now, but any more questions, keep them coming, and I'll hopefully get to do another video quite soon. And if you do like the videos, make sure you're subscribed, because it does help keep the channel going, and like and add comments and just keep the channel going to encourage me, and I'll make more videos. Right, that's all for now. Bye.